Hey, Frederick Woodruff here, and welcome to one of the first videos I have ever posted on my site, at least a video that features me. I'm not big on videos for different reasons, but that's neither here nor there. The reason I'm shooting a video today is later in this video I want to share with you images from a book that I have been recommending to my clients in regards to the upcoming Saturn Pluto conjunction in Capricorn that will be happening in early 2020. The reason I'm recommending this particular book that I'll be sharing with you also is the book is filled basically with imagery. There's very little verbiage. The images that are in the book address what a lot of the common anxieties are about the upcoming conjunction of Saturn and Pluto. I mean, if you look at astrology from a very kind of kindergarten level, there is this division of good planets, bad aspects, good aspects. And I know astrology uses all these sophisticated terms to sort of mitigate the idea of negative, positive, and yet it's human nature to lean towards something negative and then begin to obsess on that. So as I've talked to different people about the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, and this would be people that have a basic understanding of astrology, there is this kind of anxiety that I hear repeated. And I also am reading and seeing videos online talking about this conjunction that that content is also presenting this dire sort of forecasting or way of interpreting the conjunction between Saturn and Pluto. And you can, see why. Saturn's considered traditionally the great malefic. Pluto has become this catch bin of, any kind of functum within the culture, cults, sex addiction, plutocracy, grave robbing. I mean, I've seen the craziest kind of conflations around the planet Pluto. And as I work with astrology and as I tell my students, we really do not know enough empirically about the outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, to have such cocksure associations with the planets. As an astrologer for 45 years now, I'm still trying to do inquiry into the outer planets and have something that to me is a more sincere and honest understanding of what the outer planets represent and actually what their function is within our solar system. A lot of the terms, keywords, notions that are laid on Pluto are actually keywords and terms that belong on the planet Saturn. Saturn has to do with chronology. Saturn has to do with the type of embodiment within time that leads to decay and death. And again, these are themes, keywords that are shoved over onto Pluto, because if astrologers were honest, we really don't know and have enough empirical data on the outer planets to be so sure about how their influence is registered. So there's that. Now on to the book. What I'm going to do now is shift from this video over to a visual that lets us explore the book together with some of my reasoning about why I'm recommending it for you. So hold on. I will be right back. Okay, so the book I'm recommending is titled The Crap Hound Big Book of Unhappiness. So I know you're like, what the fuck? I'll share my rationale and why I'm having my clients order this with a little bit of history related to the creator of the Big Book of Unhappiness. This book is made by a gentleman by the name of Sean Tagarachi. I believe he's in Oregon, and he has been compiling volumes like this for, my God, I think about 25 years now. I first encountered Sean with his book called Church and State. And one of the things Sean likes to do is combine paradoxical opposites or nonsensical conflations, and then put that imagery together to let it work on the unconscious mind. So you can see here in Church and State, he has, these classic vintage works that are also up against ideas about government, patriotism, Uncle Sam, Keep America Great. Another book he did that I loved was just a book on superstition, filled with classic items that people have instilled, strange meanings to. And anyway, that's a little bit about Sean. Now let's talk about the Big Book of Unhappiness. Sean started working on this book, I believe, about 10 years ago. And it started out to be a volume like these vertical books here. But then his collection over time grew so massive that he eventually decided to compile all of the images into one massive omnibus, which is the Big Book of Unhappiness. Okay, so why recommend this? Well, as I mentioned in the start of the video, people have associated the Saturn Pluto conjunction with some of the most dire, anxiety-riddled predictions that I've encountered in all my years of astrology. And the reason I recommend this book for my clients is that it's good to study the imagery in the book and allow it to work on the unconscious. And the reason it's good to let it work on the unconscious is twofold. Number one, in a very standard way, just being reminded of many of life's maladies, fears, and terrors will remind you that, your life probably isn't that bad in comparison. So there's that kind of standard approach, but a little bit more alchemically, I would say that because of the nature of the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, we're in an alchemical phase that has to do with the Saturn function of turning shit, life's difficulties, life's tragedies, life's anxieties, turning that into something that is, transcendent. Or if you don't want to get so spiritual about it, turning it into something that can be put to creative means in your life. Now, the thing about conjunctions in astrology is they're much more difficult to, I hate the word unpack, but I'm going to use that term. You have two planets in confluence, and you could almost say that their functions have become intermixed. And because of that, the main force of the conjunction is working at the level of the unconscious. A conjunction is completely different, obviously, than an opposition, where you have literally means at your disposal to work with conditions, work with people, work with anxieties or fears that seem, oppositional, to be holding you back, to be blocking you. And it's for that reason that the opposition, I think, is much easier to work with a client. We can talk about those particulars. Now, you get into the conjunction, and you have this very strange mixture of, in the case of Saturn Pluto, what occurred 15 years ago when Saturn and Pluto were in opposition. And I'm sure all of you will remember the last opposition because it was right during the 9/11 terrorist attacks that we really saw the magnitude of Saturn and Pluto when they have a kind of forced mode of coming together. The conjunction then brings that material that was set in motion or manifested 15 years ago, and that becomes the material that defines the grounds or the container of the conjunction. So you have two paradoxical things going on. You have a brand new merging of the planets, and then you have this content that is creating or defining the container of the conjunction and how that will manifest. Now, the wildcard element that I spoke to earlier about Pluto or any of the outer planets is that there's this element of the non-conceptual that we are forced to integrate in our lives in some way when the outer planets are touching either us personally through a transit or through the culture like we're experiencing now. So a good example of this Saturn-Pluto confluence would be if you look at the structuring that we have right now, say in the United States government. Everything that's going on there with impeachment, all of the intense polarity that's in play. And then if you scrape down beneath all of that frantic craziness, there's this kind of what I call a gigantic void underneath the frenzy. And this is what propels the frenzy actually within the culture, is there's this Plutonic realm of the non-conceptual beginning to assert into the culture. And what generally happens, I find, with Pluto transits is people or conditions seem to double down even harder against the influence of the planet. And so for that reason, with this void, this sort of existential void opening up, as in, I no longer know my country. I no longer understand, the laws and the decorum that have, governed up to this point. Or you could look at it more personally in your own life if you're being, hit by the transit as, I don't know this relationship anymore because I'm starting to experience a facet of reality that is completely foreign to me, and that is scaring me, and because I associate that with this person, he or she is scaring me. So, back to the big book of unhappiness. And I'm going to put a link for you to order this down here beneath the video on my website so you can get that. There's a very limited run of these books, so I would suggest that you order it soon. And I also like to support Sean's work because I just think what he brings to the dialogue, cultural dialogue, is something worth supporting. So, questions, dialogue about this video and the book, that you'll be able to do with me on Facebook, because I'll be, posting that there. I no longer allow content from comments on my site because it just became so unruly dealing with spammers. I had my site hacked through the messaging of the commenting section, and it just became too big of a hassle. But anyway, Crap Hound's Big Book of Unhappiness, Saturn Pluto conjunct. Order your copy now, and I will see you later. Thanks for watching. Take care.